Well, Donald Trump might have to go by a new playbook in the general election and scrap the one he's used in the primaries. That's according to Karl Rove in a new op-ed on FoxNews.com entitled, "Will Trump's mom problem improve this week? Relief on the way for Clinton." Karl writes, quote, "For Trump, the question is if he makes progress this week on his campaign's mom problem, message, organization, and money. Running a general election is different than a primary. What worked in the primary, attacking each of his many opponents with a well-chosen nickname, relying almost exclusively on rallies and largely ignoring organization and self-funding, won't necessarily work in a general election." Let's bring in the author of that op-ed, Karl Rove, former senior advisor and deputy chief of staff to President George W. Bush. Also with us, Joe Trippi, former Howard Dean campaign manager. Both are Fox News contributors. So, Joe, I'm going to start with you first. What do you think of Karl's advice to the Trump campaign?
Well, it's good advice. I don't know if Trump will take it. It is a vastly different thing to win a primary nomination and then to move into the general election. A lot of the things that worked for him actually have put him in deficit going into the general. If you think back to the many times that Ted Cruz defeated Trump in the GOP primaries, it was because in those particular states, Cruz had a superior organization. I mean, the demographics may have worked for him too, but he had a superior organization to Trump, and Trump's, just name calling and exciting people worked, but it didn't defeat that organization. That's a big problem in a general election where it might be 8 or 9 swing states, and where the Democrats and the Clinton campaign have strong organizations out there. And if he tries to do it the same way, just on his energy, it may not work. You also need money to drive that organization. He doesn't have that. That network never got built because he's self-funded. Obviously, the Clintons have been out there for some time, and Hillary's been out there putting together a pretty big network of major donors. He's got to assemble that now. So he's got a message discipline problem, which I think will always be a problem with Trump. But the organization, I think, may be the biggest hurdle, particularly in these swing states.
All right, Karl, how do you see it? I mean, which of these areas do you feel he's in the most trouble?
Well, I think he's got challenges in all three, and I think he knows he's got challenges in all three. That's why he has tried to begin building now, belatedly, a network nationwide to help him raise money. It's why, for example, he has now given 2 speeches using a teleprompter. He gave a speech on foreign policy earlier, and then a speech last week on energy, both using a teleprompter, which allowed him to give a more substantive discussion of what he actually believes. And the organization issue is still out there. The Republican National Committee, through the joint fundraising agreement that he signed with them, has now got a big chunk of new cash coming in, which will hopefully allow them to take the lead in the organization. But each one of these, both candidates have a problem with each one of the elements of MOM: the message, organization, money. Clinton's ahead on organization and money, but she's got a lousy message. And Trump has got to recognize, and I think does recognize, that he needs to do things differently for the general election. This is why I was a little bit concerned last week when the Inspector General report came out. He responded, as he did during the primary, by basically saying, "Crooked Hillary, bad report, she got bad news today." Well, this is a point at which he needs to begin to enunciate the specifics of the bad news. If instead he'd said, "Crooked Hillary got a bad report today from the Inspector General. It turns out she lied to us about getting permission to do the server. She lied to us about how it had never been hacked. She lied to us about how she had never handled classified information on there. She lied to us when she said that she was going to be transparent and cooperate." I mean, that would have been a more useful thing than just sort of quickly responding off the top of the moment. And it's a sign of inside his campaign, people are not thinking about, fully about, and are not yet in the sync of saying, when he gets ready to say those things, are there things that we might want to suggest to him to broaden it out, deepen it, give it more substance?
Joe, very quickly, when he pushed away big money donors, said, "I'm self-funded, they can't buy me." Can he attract big money donors now for the general election, having shunned them up till now?
I mean, he's going to try, and I think he'll have some success. But the problem always is with someone like Trump is if a guy's worth $10 billion, a lot of people say, well, why does he need my money? And so it actually takes a lot longer sometimes for somebody like Trump to put that network of money together. There's a reluctance.
Yeah.
And look, I do think on the social, on sort of the message side, he hasn't really been up against the kind of message discipline that the Clinton campaign's likely to have, that you're seeing today in response, the pushing of, Carl just illustrated a tougher way for him to have gone after Hillary. You're seeing with Trump University and the way the Clinton campaign and Hillary's jumping on his problems there, and what his employees said, they're doing a better job, I think, of messaging against him. That's an unusual thing for him. He hasn't faced that in the Republican primary. So I think that they are in trouble on all three of them, I think.
We'll see if both of these campaigns follow your joint advice. Joe Trippi, Karl Rove, thank you both.